The month of February is special for a myriad of reasons. It's the shortest month of the year, the month of love, and to us in the Southern Hemisphere, the last month of summer. While I have no objection to celebrating romantic love in this time, I decided I would rather celebrate my love of nature with textures that would remind me of the beauty of nature with every touch or glance of the page. Hey there, I'm Ria, and a very warm welcome and welcome back to my channel. On this channel, we make content about journaling, stationery, and stories. If you're new here and you enjoy what we do, give us a like and click subscribe for more videos like this. So, how to represent the outdoors indoors? I say I want a texture, but that will probably mean something different for all of us. One of the first things that pop into my mind when I hear the word is bulk. And as February is only the second month of the year, the last thing I need is to use things that will make my journal pages wobble like a dinghy on open water. I'll link as many products as I can in the description box below. I started with papers. The small pieces I chose to use for this setup are from the Rose Manor and Flower Shadow in the Mirror sets that came as part of the Retro Post Office series of scrapbook papers from Shein. I chose to use these because they not only carry the theme visually, but they also add physical variety. The imagery is mostly of florals with soft browns, yellows, greens, pinks and blues, and they have a very slight grainy texture that's similar to rubbing a fuzzy leaf between your fingers. The paper themselves though are quite thin, so they stick down nice and flat on the page, unlike other paper elements like cardstock and so on. However, they will ultimately still create a very minimal amount of bulk, but that won't be a problem if they're used sparingly. What will cause even less bulk are these love of nature themed 2-ply serviettes that, at the end of the day, were the main inspiration for this topic. The paper napkins, once pasted in, are thinner than the scrapbook papers and stick more closely to the journal pages too. What makes them even nicer to use is that since they're 2-ply, they can be thinned out even more, giving the opportunity to create a whole new visual effect without losing the beautiful decorations printed on them. The physical feel of them would be the same as the papers if it weren't for the tiny bumps that were imprinted all along the edges, making it feel less like touching leaves and more like running your fingers over smooth bark, like that of a beech tree or bloekomboom, blue gums in English. And moving your finger over the line where the paper and the serviette meet is like touching a new section of bark and then rubbing your fingers over to an older part. The colors used in the design on the serviette is soft but bright, reminding me of watercolor pencils. However, it was printed using minuscule dots, which on closer inspection reminds me of sand drawings or pictures people make using colored sand. The washi tapes are a different story altogether. Most of the designs on the washis are floral with natural coloring, the only exceptions being the shiny gold elements on 2 of the tapes and the cerulean colored leaves on the other. I decided to incorporate the washi tape with the music notes simply because to me it feels like music belongs in nature. And also, since a bird features prominently on the serviette imagery, I thought I should have something to represent birdsong. The washi tapes feel smoother, almost waxy, reminding me of the feel of sun leaves rather than fuzzy leaves. And washis being washis, they're as flat on the surface of the journal as you can possibly get, barring rub-on stickers and temporary tattoos. Something that I'll be adding only to this cover page are these pressed leaves and flowers. I felt it was important to incorporate some real natural elements into this layout, and that whatever it was, it should really lean into the idea of summer. So I chose these yellow flowers, red poinsettia leaves, and these round green leaves. I love that you can still feel the veins on the leaves so clearly, and the petals of the yellow flowers are soft and smooth as silk. They even still smell faintly, like tea. Of everything I've used so far, even though these plants were pressed, they're the ones that will cause the most bulk in my journal. But personally, I think it's worth it. The final bulk-free thing I can do to layer in some texture is to create it by hand with ink. For this, I chose 2 different styles of text and just some simple lines. Unfortunately, while believing that I had pressed play when starting to write the name of the month, I actually seem to have stopped recording, so I can't show you how to do this particular text on this page, but I will be able to show you how on the gratitude pages. So if you like this text, stick around for that. The script was inspired by a text style called Bradley Hand ITC on Microsoft Word. I chose this because the style is brittle but bendy, which makes me think of twigs and the stems of wild grass. I've been feeling a lot of pressure lately, and so the quote I decided to go with for this month was attributed to Lao Tzu and says, "Nature does not hurry, yet all is accomplished." And I like this. I think it's a good reminder that things will happen in their own time. Next, I used my stencil to create the word breathe, quite simply because I like using it to letter in words, and it worked out nicely in that the broken letters with a bit of brown shading has me thinking of dappled shade under tall trees, the way some shadows are lighter than others and some shadow edges more abrupt. Fitting, in my mind at least. The final touches you see me adding here to the quote is by giving it the same shadow that I gave the word breathe with the same red-brown pen, and I'll be using this in a moment again to create more texture with lines. Finally, the red-brown lines that you see me drawing as a box around the word February is rich, warm, soft, and slightly ragged, making my mind stray to the red earth and red sand areas found in the eastern and northern parts of the country. Now that we have our ideas down on paper, let's see how we can use it all to decorate the rest of the monthly setup. By the end of this video, I'll show you a comparison in terms of bulk between the February pages of my journal and the January and yearly pages, where I only used papers and washi tapes. So you can decide for yourself if you think these elements were worth it and if there really is less bulk. For now, what do you think? Did this give you any ideas for your journal? Have you ever used pressed plants in your journals before, and what did you think of them? Let me know in the comments down below. I saw this beautiful layout in a video here on YouTube by a creator called Tay. She creates really stunning spreads, and I'll add a link in the description down below if you'd like to check out her channel. Anyway, on her video with a 70s vibes theme, she created the frame of her calendar with stickers, and I was inspired to try the same with my washi tapes. However, my tapes were a bit thicker than her stickers, so my calendar looks quite a bit bulkier than hers. Also, my red earth washi tape was the only solid color washi that I had, and me, not being entirely prepared for just how little tape was on the roll, used it all up without being able to finish the layout. I had to think quickly. My other tapes all had patterns on them, and most are much broader than the one I was using here. I had only 3 other tapes that were the same width, and thankfully one of them, this green one, fit the bill. To a degree. It has tiny white flowers on it that look more like little stars to me, but if it works, it works. I decided that since my calendar is less for self-exploration and more basic to-do stuff, I could use some of the less nature-inspired paper elements here, and then combine it with the washi tapes illustrated with leaves and bees to bring it back around to the theme. That didn't go so well, so I started doodling in some nature elements by hand and stopped almost immediately. At that point, I determined to just finish up with the last details and move on because I felt that there was no fixing this. All in all, not my favorite spread of the month. I was about to move on to the next setup when I realized I'd forgotten to write in the days of the month and the numbers of the days on the calendar, so I quickly went back and changed that. However, I wrote on the dark tape with a dark pen, and obviously that did not go very well. I tried giving contrast by writing with my white Jelly Roll pen to help distinguish what I was writing, but this whole spread just did not work for me. For my stats pages, I wanted to keep things as simple as possible. A frame with texture, no more. I started off by throwing down some of this floral washi tape with cerulean leaves and peach-colored blossoms. Let's face it, if cerulean leaves had been a natural phenomenon, every household in the world would have had it. This tape is really beautiful. Since it creates that waxy leaf feel around the edges, I decided to place rougher elements in the corners. Small pieces of serviette in the upper right hand corner and lower left hand corner. A serviette and paper combo in the lower right hand corner, where I'll probably end up touching the spread the most, thereby bringing my mind back to the textural shift between the tape, the paper and the napkin and what they each mean to me. And to finish off the frame, a large piece of serviette in the upper left-hand corner where I'll be starting all of my writing from, thereby pulling the eye to that large colourful design in the first part of the spread. I wanted to repeat all the scripts that I used on the cover page one by one throughout the setup, but when I wrote down the heading for these pages in my regular handwriting, like I did the quote on the cover, it just didn't work for me. I therefore painted over it with this Copic opaque white paint and then pasted in the same bulletproof paper on which I wrote the name of the month. I wrote in the title again, this time in the dappled shade script version, and liked it slightly better. What I forgot to film was that I also added the same lined border around the title that I placed around February on the cover page, and spaced it out a little so that I could add some leaf and berry doodles inside it. I like how that turned out, since the bright colors really bring back that summer vibe. You'll be able to see what it looks like during the final flip through. For my content planner, I went for a slightly different layout than last month, mostly because January's setup didn't actually work for me. I also wanted to fill up the space but keep things loose and relaxed on these pages. The first thing I did was to draw in a table where I could tick off all the things I needed to do for my videos as I did them, right underneath where I was going to put the little calendar. And on the next page, I would paste in a piece of lined paper on which I would be able to write down my ideas for videos. Instead of large features of decoration, I thought I'd try again at isolating certain smaller parts of the elements that I liked and placing them around the edges of the setup. I needed functionality more than decoration on this first page, so I placed my textures behind and around my calendar and table. First the washi tape, smooth leaf texture and shining gold bee and leaf designs amid florals. Over that, near the edges of the page, and bringing back the bark textures, I pasted in a paper with white and blue florals on it, and on the other side, two separate pieces of serviette with a red flower and a blue-green dragonfly respectively. Over these came my calendar. Underneath the table I'd drawn, I set down the bright green banner of the paper napkin that reads, "Love of Nature." This tied everything together rather neatly, I think. On the second page, functionality was second, so I layered the same types of elements over the lined page on which I would be working. The beautiful kitty cat you see visiting with me right now is called Phoebe, and she is both the youngest and the smallest cat in the house. I stuck down the image of the ribbon at the bottom, even though it has nothing to do with nature, just because I thought it made for a good mirror image. I like how the shape of the ribbon mimics the shape of the butterfly next to it. I did draw the lined border around this lined paper for that red earth reminder, as well as on the lined papers on the next setup, but I managed not to film either of those things. I believe my brain had left me at this point. You will be able to see both spreads with the lined borders in the final flip through. I'm really sorry about that. On these next pages, I can give you 2 cool tricks for creating a layer texture. My goal here was also to balance out decoration and texturization with functionality, and I tried creating as equal a space from each as I could manage. The first page is for my gratitude log and my accountability log, where I write regular entries for all the things I'm grateful for and, hopefully, far fewer entries of the things I kind of screwed up and need to fix. These I decorated with that beautiful silhouette leaf washi and the textured floral papers. The next page is for my wins log, where I celebrate any and all small successes throughout the month, and my world news log, where I record general global and domestic events for the time frame. Before we get into this first tip, I should point out that I realized I'd basically completely covered the music notes washi tape, and I tried fixing it by lifting the flower frame so that I could move it to be more visible. However, the paper started to tear and I decided to leave it be. That's what you get for not thinking. Here's my first tip. Thin out your paper napkin. If you feel that the papers, washi tapes, and serviette elements still create too much bulk in your journal, know that there is nothing you can do about that other than not using the papers and washis. But decorated paper napkins are almost always likely to be 2-ply or thicker, in which case, if you strip away the layers of napkin until you have only the thin decorated layer left, like this, you can pretty much guaranteed take away any and all bulk it would have given. In fact, if you paste down only that single sheet, like I did here, with glue, mind you, I'm not using sticky tape so I can't speak to that. If you paste it down with glue, it sits so tightly on the surface of the paper that you can feel the transition from paper to washi tape far more than you can feel from paper to serviette. However, I have to warn you that the napkin will be very delicate if you do this and tear a lot more easily, so work carefully. The plus side of this, texturally, is that while you still get that grainy physical feel to a certain degree, any loss of this comes back in the form of sheerness. The serviette becomes practically see-through, so if you want to layer in things underneath it to create more visual depth, the option is there. Like here, where you can see the music washi tape showing through the napkin image. Also, note how the ink from the pens settle differently on the napkin than it does on regular lined paper, as though bleeding onto it. This also creates visual texture. Take the white blank pieces of serviette that you pull away from the napkin design and paste those down on the page to write on, if you want to create that ink bleed effect. My second tip is on how to write in the text style that I used to write February on the cover spread. I used both a brush tip pen and my Copic 0.1 size multiliner to achieve this look. Remember that this text is based on the Bradley Hand ITC script in Microsoft Word. I suggest that you start by drawing simple lines in pencil that take the basic shape of this text into account, especially if you aren't used to this style. Then go over those lines with the tip of your brush pen, and don't be upset if the lines are irregular or erratic. That's exactly what you want. Make sure that some of the parts of the lines are thicker, thinner, or blotchier than others. But do these things delicately. You'll notice that I'm only using the tip of the brush all the way through. When you've written out the words you want, go back in with the smallest fine liner or multiliner size that you have, or at least something smaller than a 0.5 tip, depending on how big you're writing. But to illustrate, I wrote the February script using my 0.1 tip as well as this much smaller text. With this finer pen, you want to exaggerate the raggedness of the lines ever so slightly. Build out the blotches a little more. Extend very thin lines a little further. Add some feathering at the ends of some lines, and if you can, where the brush split on the page a little, creating double lines, add to those lines by emphasizing them and adding tiny dots to help make your text look more brittle. Then you should have something akin to this. And this is the style that reminds me of twigs and wild grass. Do you have a script style like this that reminds you of something out in nature, or any other textured text that you like? Let me know down in the comments how you came across it and how you've used it in your journals. Since I need the trackers open for use, I'm prioritizing functionality, and all the decorative elements will be going in the background. I'll still be using simple combinations, the wax-like washies with the grainy papers for the sun leaf and fuzzy leaf textures, the bumpy serviettes for the smooth bark feel, bees and florals for that visual reminder of a happy summer's day, and on the third page you'll see me doodle in some leaves and berries over the music washi tape to bring back that feel of birdsong. You'll also see me combine this with a piece of paper with ribbons on it, once again mirroring the shape of the butterfly on the fourth page. I regret not being able to show you what my trackers look like at this point, but I made these before I thought of starting the channel using icons I got off the internet, and I printed out the entire year's worth, only later realizing that I might get copyrighted for it. I am working on creating my own icons to cover these with so that I can show you properly how they work, but I'm not done yet. Hopefully by March. I'll give you a quick explanation though. I got the idea from One Sunday Studio here on YouTube, link in the description box if you'd like to check out her channel. I created a graph made of a clear ring of boxes, each representing a day of the month. You color them in according to a color key that you make to track whatever it is that you feel you need to keep track of. In the middle of the ring you place an image that represents what you're tracking. That way you can avoid headings and such. I find it's a pretty fun way of doing trackers and useful in that I can color the boxes with multiple colors if necessary on any given day, and that's especially useful for mood tracking. Now, if you've watched this video all the way to this point, some of you may be thinking, hey girl, this is just a regular journal setup. Wasn't this video supposed to be all about layering textures into your journal and not have any bulk? And my answer is, exactly. It is just a regular journal setup, and that's my point. Here, you can now see the comparison between my February pages with washi tapes, papers, paper napkins, and actual pressed flowers and leaves, versus my January and yearly pages with almost exclusively papers and washi tapes and only 1 or 2 pressed florals. Is there less bulk? We all like the pretty spreads with the pretty shiny designs that make a pretty picture to look at. But honestly, how often do we consider texture? Not just in the things that are anomalous to use, but in the things we already have. My washi tapes are just regular washi tapes. My scrapbook papers, the exact same as yours probably. My paper napkins, just like any other, and the pressed leaves and flowers literally taken from random shrubs. Yet I've created spreads that not only look like they're celebrating nature, but personally remind me of the natural world through my senses with every turn of the page. And none of my spreads need to look anything but ordinary to anyone else, because it's personally textured for me. Let's flip through the finished setup. So, for February, I invite each of you to think of this. When you touch your washi tapes, what do they feel like to you? When you see a grainy image, where does your mind go? When a piece of ephemera is coarse and bumpy or smooth and silky, what do you feel and think of? Sometimes it's okay for your spreads to be a little off kilter. Your journal is a personal space where your mind lives, grows, and thrives through exploration. This February, I celebrate my love of nature. Join me and celebrate something you love with texture. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good one.